Hi, it's Roman Bodnarchuk. Normally I would say from the Best Half Show, but this is actually our first episode for 10x Living. And I'm excited that you joined us today. 10x Living is really Roman Bodnarchuk 3.0. And every time I've ever started a business, it's usually to solve a problem that I had, a problem that I wanted to solve. So I'll give you some ideas of that. I remember when I was in university and I had a dog, and a friend of mine explained to me that despite me being a vegetarian, dogs are clearly carnivores. So we started a dog food company, dry dog food, all natural, no chemicals, real meat. And I learned the importance of, all natural, real meat products for dogs. I mean, it's incredible. They don't get cancer. They live much longer. It's much healthier. Basically, diet nutrition 101. That turned out to be an extremely successful company, still around today. Very proud of being a founder of that company. The next company was a company that I started because I wanted to learn how to become a great internet marketer. And I knew the internet was going to be the biggest industry of our lifetime, but I had to figure out how do you become a great marketer in the online world. And that's really how N5R was formed. And we got very fortunate with clients like the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, and then 21 of the biggest 50 brands in the world. But it was because of my obsession, and each time I do get obsessed with how do you become the best internet marketer in the world. That was the N5R, and still is today, grows around the world. 15 countries, 5 continents, sold just over $6 billion of real estate and other products around the world. And then when I turned about 45 years of age, the worst thing that ever happened to me, the big pain for me was I got divorced. And the custody arrangement was 1 week on, 1 week off. I'd never been lonely a moment in my life. I mean, I've always been a hyper, growth entrepreneur, and quickly building a family with 3 kids and 2 dogs. It's pretty tough to be lonely. But all of a sudden, I'm in my house by myself for that week. No kids, no dogs, super quiet, and it was depressing. I mean, for those of you that have been through a divorce, I can't imagine things much worse than that, but it was pretty horrific. But I learned what loneliness is about, and I had to do a deep dive on how to solve loneliness. So I created a company called Sociable Living. It was the first and became the largest luxury co-living company in Canada, US, Costa Rica. And it was really came out of 2 reasons. One is how to solve loneliness, and we did find a way to do that, which was life-changing for so many people. And number 2 is a real estate investor since I was 14 years old. And the rental returns in Toronto had negative returns. So if you bought any real estate in Toronto the last 10 or 20 years, you had a negative return. So co-living provided much higher rental returns. So there was an economic reason plus a social one that was really what funded the growth of that business. And it's been amazing. And then when I created the Best Half Show, I want to make sure that the second half of my life was 10 times better than my first half. When I talk about 10 times better, I'm talking about 10 times better health than I ever had, 10 times more income, 10 times higher revenue, 10 times better relationships. And I got to tell you that most of those categories I can check the box on. It's been extraordinary. And the one thing I learned was for it to be sustainable, you need to create a group, a mastermind group, a group of people that are going to push you through the good times, the bad times, are going to be there with you in the ups and downs. As an entrepreneur, the highs are really high, the lows are very low, just like parenting. Highs are really high, lows are really low. And it's difficult. And there's a lot of things that we're told as parents, as entrepreneurs, just as regular humans that just aren't true. So you need a group of really smart people around you. So what I learned is men were the group I needed to support myself with. I love women as much as any man does, but I knew that to go through pain and suffering and discomfort, sometimes I needed a group of men to work with. So that's why this is the advent of 10x Living. And 10x Living is about creating a mastermind group, a group of men. If you're a man, if you're a woman, obviously you're going to do with women. And I only know men. I'm still trying to figure out women, but I'm an expert on men. a group of men that are very ambitious and are not ready to give up on their dreams. And that's one thing I've noticed with most of the people that I've learned that see, middle age, they've given up on their big dreams. They've given up on the big audacious goals they had when they were children. So I want to surround myself with men that haven't given up, that really believe the best days are ahead of them. One of my mentors, and I just have tremendous respect for Ted Rogers, has now passed away. I went to university with his son, Edward, and Ted Rogers always believed that the best was ahead of him. The best days were always ahead. The best is yet to come was his saying. And I really believe that. I don't care who wins political office. I don't care about the economy. We're only competing with ourselves. Our biggest detriment to our success is looking in the mirror. It's all about us. So this is a one-person game. We come in alone, we end alone, and we need to understand ourselves. But to get to the highest level, we need to do that with a group of people. So 10X Living is about creating a mastermind. So let me tell you about the mastermind that we're putting together, because this might inspire you to create your own or maybe join one of ours. So what I've learned with mastermind groups, typically they're run by one person and they have a very specific ideology or a very specific point of view. And that's great. For example, I've done pretty much all the Tony Robbins courses for 30 years. Super helpful. Incredibly helpful. And what Tony Robbins has done, and reason why I've liked his books and his seminars so much, is he's done an incredible job of synthesizing some of the best works out there. So he started off by basically synthesizing his mentor's work, Jim Rohn, which is an incredible philosopher, incredible businessman. And then he learned about neuro-linguistic programming. So a lot of his programs come from Jim Rohn, come from neuro-linguistic programming. But he's also learned a lot of cool things along the way. So his programs get better and better. But I've learned that was not enough for me. I had to learn other things. So for example, like Jay Abraham. Jay Abraham is an extraordinary business master. I mean, like off the charts brilliant when it comes to business and business consulting. So I've learned a ton through him. In real estate, I've learned a ton through Grant Cardone, which has built a huge multifamily portfolio. My closest mentor to me was Brian Tracy, which I got to know him as a friend. And my biggest, the 10Xs of my life came from spending time with Brian Tracy, him working on my goals, and then going and 10Xing my income. So what I've learned is there's different people that are experts. Not everyone's going to have all the information. I've read all of Deepak Chopra's books. I've read so many books of Dave Asprey, a biohacker. There's all these sources of information. So what I'm doing in my mastermind, instead of just following one ideology or one person, I've been able to take the best that I've learned from each group. And we've created our mastermind over 12 months. And every month we focus on a particular topic. So let's say month 1 is health. So we're going to learn from the experts on who's the best in the world at intermittent fasting, who's the best at sleep. Because if you just get those two things right, just as a prelude, if you get your sleep right and you can get down to one meal a day and really embrace intermittent fasting, half of the health problems you could potentially have literally go away just with sleep and intermittent fasting. Obviously, there's way more. But what we've done in our 12-month program is take the best of each person, whether it's Dr. Peter Attia, Brian Johnson, which is probably the leading guinea pig for longevity. So in every area, I've taken the best content, and these are some programs I've invested for years in, and taking the best of and sharing that information over a 12-month structured program. So again, there's different ways, different types of masterminds, but the way we're taking it is we're learning from the best, and again, it's changing. Right now, Dr. David Sinclair, I think, is probably the leading person in longevity in the world. Peter Diamandis. So we're learning from the best in each area, and we're creating a workbook and weekly calls around that particular topic every month. In over 12 months, we cover things like relationships and investing, and health and revenue growth and sales, which is the most important aspect of business. So that's how we're doing ours. So over this series on 10X Living, you're going to hear more about what we're doing. But today I'm here to challenge you and encourage you. If you're not part of a mastermind, join one. If you can't find one that you are going to resonate with, create one. but they're really, Napoleon Hill wrote about this, 80 years ago, about the power of the mastermind. These are biblical principles. When two or more people pray for something, it has to happen. When two or more people get together and talk about ideas, the third idea comes, like a third person's there. There's so much power in a mastermind group. So if you can't find one to join, create your own. But this is how you sustain the great level. Yes, you can take an amazing 3-day course or 4-day course, which I highly encourage you to do. But to sustain your new standard, to set goals and to hold yourself accountable, you're going to need a partner. And that's why programs like Alcoholics Anonymous work. They go to their weekly meetings. You can't miss a meeting. You have a sponsor. It's very powerful. Weight Watchers, the reason it works is you go in every week, you have accountability, they weigh you, you have a support group. I mean, these programs that have survived 40, 50, 60 years, there's a science to them, but the accountability is what we're missing, especially if you're an entrepreneur. If you're super successful and you're an entrepreneur, there's nobody holding you accountable. And that's what we all need. We know what we need to do. Sometimes we have the information, but we need the accountability. So for me, the mastermind isn't just about latest, newest information. That's great. But really the value of a mastermind for me personally, it's the accountability, because I don't want to let my friends down. I don't want to let high achieving men that respect me and I respect them. I want to keep my word. And that's the hardest thing to do in life. And sometimes our partners, the people that we sleep with, they love us, but they don't necessarily push us. So sometimes your partner's like, "Oh, honey, you don't need to get up at 5 a.m. You don't need to go to that workout. Oh, honey, you can have that drink, or you can have that extra piece of pie." No. I mean, as men, we need to hold ourselves accountable. So today's message is, if you have not already joined a mastermind group and you can't find one, obviously you can join us in the journey of us creating our masterminds in Toronto, in Florida, in Costa Rica, or just create your own. But I really, really believe if you want to 10x your life, it's imperative. It's mission critical to be part of a mastermind group. Thanks for your time today. Look forward to seeing you next week.